different transfers of property, rights to or interest in property made by the decedent while still living, yet being considered under the National Internal Revenue Code as equivalent to testamentary disposition. Hence, the value of the property, rights to interest in property, though already transferred during the lifetime of the transfer of the decedent, will still form part of the gross estate. So we talk of the first group, transfers in contemplation of death. So you have there the different kinds of transfers in contemplation of death. We mentioned 3 instances. Now let us go to the next kind of transfer of property, rights to or interest in property made during the lifetime of the decedent, but treated under the law as equivalent to testamentary disposition. Hence, the value of the property, rights to interest in property, though already transferred while the decedent was still living, will still form part of the gross estate at the time of death of the decedent. You have under Section 86C, 85C, I mean. If you look at Section 85C, you have another kind of transfer we considered by the law as equivalent to testamentary disposition. You have revocable transfers. But you should know, under Section 85C, there are 2 types of revocable transfers. The first is transfer of property, rights to property or interest in property made by the decedent while he was still living, but the transfer at the time of death of the decedent is subject to a change. Transfer is subject to a change at the time of death of the decedent, because the decedent under the transfer had the right to revoke, to alter, to terminate, or amend the transfer of the property, rights to interest in property, which may be exercised by the decedent alone or in conjunction with any other person. So that is the first type. The second one is the decedent while still living.
Sir.
Pero magbata nga. Kita mo at pagka sa konsol. Ayun, kala ko man kung ano man dito.
Hindi mo akala ka na dyan.
Pero saan ako man duman dito?
Hindi.
Eh. Kala ko may suggestion ka. Kala ko may siya ako sa akin. Parang day na pala.
Ang daming nasa lugar niya. May park. farm ko kasi attorney sa Atlantic.
Ano?
May farm. Adjamming it.
I was talking of the second type of revocable transfer. As I was saying, the decedent here, while he was still living, made a transfer of property, rights to property, or interest in property, subject to a change through the exercise by the decedent of the right to revoke, alter, terminate, or amend the transfer. But the decedent here relinquished his power or right to revoke, alter, terminate, or amend the transfer, but in contemplation of death. So the relinquishment of the rata, when I say rata here, revoke, alter, terminate, or amend. The relinquishment by the decedent here before he dies of his power to rata was made in contemplation of death. Again, you will note, even if the decedent here has already relinquished his power or right to rata, the transfer, but because the relinquishment was made in contemplation of death, the value of the property, right to or interest in property, although already transferred, will still be included in the gross estate. Exception, again, in case of a bona fide sale for an adequate and full consideration in money or money's worth. That is the exception. In other words, under the exception, the property or the value of the property, rights to or interest in property, will not be included in the. So, let us say that X placed 10 billion pesos in a trust. With the income from the trust payable to Y for life. So the beneficiary of the trust is Y. The income is payable to Y for life. But upon the death of Y, the income is payable to Y's children. However, the trust is subject to a condition that the trust may be terminated or revoked by X while he is still living. So the trust is subject to that condition that X, the trustor, may terminate the trust while he is still living. But X died without terminating the trust. So X died without having terminated the trust. Now, is the 10 million still includable in the gross estate of X? Because X has already died. So he must have left a state subject to state tax. Is the 10 million includable in the gross estate of X? Of course, your answer must be yes. Because at the time X died, the transfer of the 10 million by trust is subject to a change. So here, it is not necessary that the power to rata, the power to revoke, alter, terminate, or amend should be exercised by the decedent before he dies. It is enough that the transfer is subject to the power of the rata by the decedent at the time of his death, whether exercised or not. The power to rata is there. That's why the property or right to property or interest in property, though already transferred, will still form part of the gross estate of the decedent transfer. But suppose in the same problem, the condition of the trust is that X, the trustor, may revoke the trust while he is living. If Y, who is Y here? Y is the beneficiary, the first beneficiary. If Y dies ahead of him. So X retained the right to change the transfer of the property, the trust, if Y, the beneficiary, dies ahead of X. But X died ahead of Y. So you're now a decedent, X is a decedent now in this case. So his estate will be affected. The question now is the 10 million still includable in the gross estate of X? Is the 10 million includable in the gross estate of X? Mr. Ama?
No, not anymore, sir.
Why is it not the case?
Because for the donation which was
No, there is no donation that we are talking of.
the transfer of property made by X to Y was already completed because the condition which was set by X did not materialize.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Then the condition set by X is he can revoke the transfer if Y will pass away ahead of him. But in the scenario given, X death happened ahead of Y.
What you must note then is that X, the transferor decedent, had no right to revoke the trust at the time of his death. So if the transferor decedent had no right to revoke, alter, terminate, or amend the transfer of the property, right or interest in property at the time of his death, then the property transferred should not be included in the gross estate. Why is that the case in this problem? Because the condition is that X will have the right to revoke the trust if the beneficiary Y dies ahead of him. But in this case, the trustor, the decedent, died ahead of the beneficiary. So at the time of his death, he had no power or right to revoke the trust of the transfer of the property or right. So therefore, the 10 million here would not be included in the gross estate of X anymore. Ayun, take us with Mr. Rahman. Then, suppose in the same problem, the condition is that, the condition of the trust is that X will have the power to change the trustee at any time while he is living. Now, suppose X, the trustor, the transferor, decedent, died without having exercise that power to change the trustee. Will the 10 million there be still included in the gross estate of X? X, the trustor, the transferor, decedent died. At the time of his death, the transfer of the 10 million by trust is subject to a condition. What condition? To change the trustee at any time before the death of the trustor. Will the 10 million there be still included in the gross estate? Of course, your answer must be no. Because merely changing the trustee of the trust is not sufficient reserve power to cause the inclusion of the property transfer in the gross estate of the deceased transferor. So not sufficient reserve power. The change is made on what? On the trustee. So not a sufficient reserve power that will cause the inclusion of the property right or interest in property transfer to the gross estate of the deceased transferor. But let us say that X owns a parcel of land with a fair market value of 4 million. X owns a parcel of land with a fair market value of 4 million. He sold the land to Y in 4 equal annual installments. So 4 equal annual installment at a price of 4 million. The deed of sale provides that if Y fails, who is Y? The vending, the buyer. The deed of sale provides that if Y fails to pay 2 or more installments, X has the right to cancel or revoke the sale. However, after the first installment, X died. So therefore, the question is, should the land already sold to Y be still included in the gross estate of X? Should the parcel of land already transferred while X was still living be still included in the gross estate of X? Ms. Marion.
Yes, sir.
Because why is that so? Why do you say that the parcel of land already transferred while the decedent transferor was still living should still be included in the gross estate upon his death?
the decedents are us. The decedent still have the rights, still have the
And you will note that case falls within the exception. Though the transfer then is subject to termination, revocation, yet the transfer was for a bona fide sale with a full and adequate consideration in money or money's worth. Moreover, at the time of X's death, it cannot be said that X had the right to revoke or cancel sale. Because Y has not defaulted yet in the payment of any installment. Note, the problem says just after the first installment payment, X died. So, the parcel of land there, the value of the parcel of land would not anymore be included in the gross estate. Now, however, what are the circumstances which will not affect the power to rata? Hence, the value of the property, rights to property or interest in property transferred will still be included in the gross estate of the decedent at the time of his death. First, even if the exercise of the power to rata can be done only after giving notice, that will not obliterate the power to rata and will not prevent the inclusion of the property transfer. Second, even if the rata, meaning the power to revoke, alter, terminate, or amend, will take effect only, even if the rata will take effect only after the expiration of a stated period after the exercise of the power. Whether or not on or before the decedent's death, notice has been given or the power has been exercised. So whether or not the notice has been given or the power to rata was exercised or not, it is enough that the transfer is subject to what? A change through the right or power of the decedent while still living to revoke, alter, terminate, or amend the transfer of the property, rights to interest in property. However, what circumstances will cause the non-inclusion of the property transferred in the gross estate of the decedent, even if the transfer of the property, rights to property or interest in property is subject to rata at the time of the decedent's death. Circumstances which will cause the non-inclusion in the gross estate of the decedent of the property transferred, although the transfer, we said, is subject to what? Revocation, alteration, termination, or amendment at the time of death. First, if the decedent was completely divested of the power to rata before his death. Second, if the decedent's power to rata can be exercised only with the consent of all parties having interest in the property transfer. And the power to rata of the decedent adds nothing to the rights of the parties with interest in the property transfer. So, the power to rata there of the decedent adds nothing to the rights of the parties with interests in the property transfer. The third instance is if the exercise of the power to rata by the decedent was subject to a contingency. The exercise of the power or authority to amend, alter, terminate, or revoke is subject to a contingency beyond the control of the decedent, which did not occur before the decedent's death. Let us say that X, while still living, donated his Mercedes-Benz car to his son, who is a law student. The son accepted the donation. The donation, however, was subject to the condition that X may revoke the donation while he is still living if Y fails in the bar examination. So the donation is subject to the condition that X may revoke the donation while he is still living if Y fails in the bar examination. But before Y could take the bar examination, X died. Now the question here is, should the Mercedes-Benz car be still included in the gross estate of X? Now Ms. Rosas.
Yes, sir, it will still form part of the gross estate. Okay.
Because
because X retains the ownership of
there can be no retention of ownership there because the donor Y accepted the donation. The only question here is whether the value of that Mercedes-Benz car should still be included in the gross estate of X because X died without Y having taken the bar examination yet. So obviously, the condition is not complied. Ms. Rosas. So you will know there that the Mercedes-Benz car is not anymore included in the gross estate. Why? Because though the transfer of the car by donation to Y was subject to revocation or termination, yet the exercise of the power is subject to a contingency. What is that contingency? Passing the bar. And that contingency is beyond the control of X. Moreover, the contingency did not occur before the death of X. So the Mercedes-Benz car then should not anymore form part of the gross estate. Though subject to what? Though subject to change. Through the right of the decedent, the donor, the transferor, to revoke the donation. But the transfer, as we said, is subject to a contingency, which is beyond the control of the transferor decedent. I take to say this. Now let us go to the next type of transfer of property, rights to property, made by the decedent during his lifetime, but yet treated by the Internal Revenue Code as equivalent to testamentary disposition. Hence, the value of the property, right to or interest in property, though already transferred, will still be included the gross estate of the decedent for estate tax purposes. You have property passing under a general power of appointment under Section 85D. Now, what is this transfer of property passing under the general power of appointment? First of all, what is meant by a power of appointment with regard to property? When you say power of appointment with regard to property, we mean the power or the right to designate by will or by deed the person or persons who will succeed, possess, enjoy, or receive the income from the property. So a person may be granted that power. A person may be granted that right. The right to what? Designate by will or by deed the person or persons who will succeed to the property subject to the power, or who will possess, enjoy, or receive the income from the property subject to the power. But when do we say that the power of appointment over a property is special? The power of appointment over a property is special if the grantee of that power of appointment is authorized to appoint only a restricted or designated class of persons. Restricted or designated class of persons. Other than himself, his estate, his creditors, and the creditors of his estate. If that is the case, then the power of appointment is special. When will it be considered as general? When do we say that the power of appointment over a property is general? If the grantee of the power is authorized to appoint or designate any person he chooses to succeed, to possess, or enjoy the property or receive the income from the property. But note Section 85D says property passing under a general power of appointment. The value of that property, subject of the general power of appointment, will be included in the gross estate of the decedent. So, when do we say that property subject of a general power of appointment will be included in the gross estate? That is when the decedent, while still living, the decedent, we are taking into account the estate here of the decedent. The decedent, while still living, was granted a general power of appointment over a property or properties by the owner. The decedent, while still living, was granted a general power of appointment over a property or properties by the owner. And the decedent here, while still living, exercised that power of appointment over property granted to him, either by means of a will or a deed executed. So the exercise here by the decedent of the general power of appointment granted to him by the owner of the property may be exercised by the decedent through a will, by means of a deed executed in contemplation of death or intended to take effect in possession or enjoyment at or after death, or the grantee of the general power of appointment may exercise that power appointed by a deed under which the decedent retained. So the grantee of the general power of appointment may exercise that power of appointment through a deed wherein the grantee, the decedent, retained for his life or for a period not ascertainable without reference to his death. So the retention by the grantee of the general power of appointment is either for life or for a period not ascertainable without reference to his death, or for any period which does not in fact end before his death. What right may be retained over the property subject of the general power of appointment, possession, enjoyment, or the right to the income from the property, or the right to designate, either by himself or in conjunction with any other person, the persons who will succeed, who will possess, enjoy, or receive the income from the property. Exception again, it is a bona fide safe for an adequate and full consideration. So you will know here, you are taking into account the estate of the granting of the general power of appointment. Now, for the property, right to property or interest in property, subject of the general power of appointment to be included in the gross estate of the granting of the general power of appointment, the grantee must exercise that general power of appointment before he dies. How may he exercise that? It may be by means of a will or by means of a deed. The deed may be executed in contemplation of death or intended to take effect in possession or enjoyment at or after death. Or the deed may be executed where the grantee of the general power retains certain rights over the what? The property subject of the general power of appointment. What rights may be retained? We said possession, enjoyment, right to the income, or the right to designate persons who possess, enjoy, or receive the income from the property. And for how long may the retention be? For life. Maybe that means until death of the grantee, or for a period not ascertainable without reference to his death, without reference to the death of the grantee, or for a period which does not in fact end before the death of the grantee. If these circumstances are present, then the property, rights or interest in property, subject of the general power of appointment, will be included in the gross estate of home, the grantee, not the grantor of the general power of appointment. So, let us say that you have X, by the way, this kind of transfer of property through a general power of appointment is also called generation skipping trust. Let us say that X has 100 million pesos. X placed the 100 million pesos in a trust with his brother Y as the trustee. The deed creating the trust provides that the income from the 100 million shall be given to X until his death. Who is X here? He is the owner of the 100 million. He is the trustor. And secondly, that after the death of X, Y is given the authority to designate the person who shall be given the 100 million. So look at the conditions of the trust. First, the income of the 100 million subject of the trust shall be given to X until X death. Alright. And second condition, after X death, Y, who is Y? The trustee is given the power or authority to designate the person who will succeed, who will be given the 100 million. Subsequently, X died. Upon the death of X, Y executed a deed designating his son Z to receive the 100 million on condition that Y will continue to receive the income from the 100 million as long as he wants to. Now, the first question here, Mr. Berdin, we will be talking here of the gross estate of which decedent? We will be talking, of course, of the gross estate of the granting of the general power of appointment. Who is the grantee here? Who is the grantee of the general power? Y. So let us now assume that Y died. After executing a deed designating his son Z to receive the 100 million on condition that Y will continue to receive the income from the 100 million until when? Until he wants to. Later on, Y died. Now, we are talking now here of the gross estate of Y. Now, should the 100 million be included in the gross estate of Y? Still within.
Yes, sir.
Why is that so?
It should be included, sir, because there is the existence of a general power of appointment, sir, and Y has exercised the power, sir, and he passed the property, sir, to say on a condition where the period is ascertainable, sir.
Why is it that the 100 million should be included in the gross estate of Y upon his death, when he has already made a transfer of the 100 million to whom? To say his son. Why, Mr. Berlin? Because you will note in the problem why transfer the 100 million to sell, but in contemplation of death. Why in contemplation of death? Because he said he will continue to receive the income from the 100 million until or as long as he wants to. So for how long is the retention of the right to receive the income? It is for a period not ascertainable without reference to his death. Why they retain the right to the income from the 100 million? In the period of retention, you will know, is for a period not ascertainable. Why not ascertainable? Because he said, as long as I want to. And you will note also that the retention was the right to retain the income from the property. And you will note also that the retention is for a period without reference to the death of the grantee. Why without reference to the death? Because it says, as long as he wants. But Mr. Bedin, what is the reason why the 100 million hit, meaning the property transferred by trust, should be included in the gross estate of one, when in fact, he is not the owner of the 100 million. Who is the owner of the 100 million? It was X, is it not? Or why should the 100 million in our problem be included in the gross estate of Y when he was only complying with what? The condition set by X with respect to 100 million, is it not? Why, Mr. Berlin, that the 100 million property placed under the trust should form part of the gross estate of Y? Why is not the owner? It was X. He was merely given the power to acquire. It is because, Mr. Berlin, if you are given the general power of appointment of the family, it comes out that as if you are the owner of the property. Why? Because the power is a general power of appointment. When we say general power of appointment, we mean the power to transfer or designate the person who will enjoy, receive the property depends upon the will of the grantee. Any person, he can designate any person. If that is the case, then as if he is the owner of the property, that can be done only by the owner of the property. If you are given a general power of appointment over a property, in effect, as if you are the owner. That's why the law will consider the property there subject of the general power of appointment to be included in the gross estate of the grantee, as long as what? The grantee exercise the general power of appointment. You will note in the problem why the grantee of the general power exercise the general power by what? By designating Z to receive the 100 million. So as if Y was the owner. Moreover, Y retained what? Retained the right to receive the income for a period not ascertainable. So therefore, the 100 million should be part of the gross estate of Y. Because that will be what? Property passing under a general power of appointment But note of exception again. If the transfer is by what? Bonum say for an adequate consideration in money of money's worth. Ayun, take your seat, Mr. Now let us go to the next chapter 8, includable ambiguous state. You have proceeds of life insurance under section 85E. Now what is the meaning here of proceeds of life insurance for purposes of determining whether the proceeds from the life insurance should be included in the gross estate of the decedent? First, the money or property must be proceeds of life insurance, not of any other kind of insurance. Second, the insurance must be on the life of the decedent himself. And third, the life insurance must be taken by the decedent himself. Suppose the decedent, while still living, took an accident insurance or health insurance for himself. Will that kind of insurance qualify as a life insurance? Or say, for instance, the decedent while still living took a disability insurance. Will they qualify as life insurance? Of course no. Because the risk insured is not the life. However, in the case of accident insurance, in the case of health insurance, if one of the risks insured is the life of the decedent, then the accident insurance or the health insurance may qualify as a life insurance. Suppose the decedent, while still living, entered into an annuity contract. Will that qualify as a life insurance? Yes, according to the insurance code. Because under the insurance code, every contract or pledge for the payment of endowment or annuity shall be considered a life insurance contract. But who is entitled to the proceeds of life insurance? That's what you have learned. Who should be entitled to the proceeds of the life insurance? Of course, the beneficiary. Just that your problem here is, when will it happen that the proceeds of life insurance will form part of the gross estate? If the proceeds should be given to the beneficiary. Good if the beneficiary is the decedent himself. But suppose the beneficiary is other than the decedent. So, when do we say that proceeds from life insurance should be included in the gross estate? First, if the beneficiary is the estate of the decedent, when will the proceeds from the life insurance on the life of the decedent be included in the gross estate? First, if the beneficiary of the life policy is the estate, the executor or administrator of the decedent, whether the designation of that beneficiary is revocable or irrevocable. Look at section 85E. Section 85E says that irrespective of whether or not the insured will retained the power of revocation. So that means if the beneficiary of the life policy is either the estate, the executor, or the administrator of the decedent, whether the designation of that beneficiary is revocable or irrevocable, the proceeds of the life insurance should form part of the trust estate. Second instance, when proceeds from life insurance will form part of the trust estate, if the beneficiary is other than the estate, the executor, the administrator of the decedent, and the designation of the beneficiary is revocable. Other than the estate, executor, administrator, but the designation of the beneficiary is revocable. In that case, the proceeds of the life policy will still be included in the gross estate. Again, look at section 85A. Except when it is expressly stipulated that the designation of the beneficiary is irrevocable. So, if the designation of the beneficiary who is other than the estate, the executor or the administrator, is not irrevocable, meaning revocable, then the proceeds of the life policy should still form part of the gross estate. Suppose the designation of the beneficiary, suppose the designation of the beneficiary is silent, and the beneficiary, the silent as to whether it is revocable or irrevocable, and the beneficiary is other than the estate, the executor, or the administrator. Beneficiary of the life policy is other than the estate, the executor, or administration, but the designation is silent, whether it's revocable or irrevocable. Should the proceeds of that kind of life policy be included in the gross estate of the insured? And you will know under the insurance code. Under the insurance code, if the designation of the beneficiary is silent or not clear whether it is irrevocable or revocable, it is presumed revocable. But note, if the beneficiary is the estate, executor, or administrator of the estate, whether revocable or irrevocable, the proceeds should form part of the gross estate. Now, suppose the life policy, life insurance, is taken by a third person on the life of the decedent. It is a third person which took the insurance on the life of the decedent. Should the proceeds from the life policy be included in the gross estate of the decedent? Now, in that case, the proceeds will only be included in the gross estate of the decedent if the estate, the executor, or administrator of the decedent is the beneficiary. Because that will now be what? If the beneficiary of the life policy is the estate, executor, or administrator, then the proceeds will be properly belonging to the estate. I will continue from there. We will talk now of what? Deductions.